Welcome to The Explainer. Let's talk about something. What if the business rules you've been taught are, well, wrong? Today we're going to look at how some of the world's most successful companies are absolutely crushing it by, just tossing out the traditional playbook and making up their own.
All right, so let's really get into it. For decades, we've been told there's this one formula for success, right? The business school classic: detailed plans, huge marketing budgets, and this slow, careful, strategic growth. But what if that's not the only game in town? What if in other parts of the world, doing the exact opposite is actually creating these giant, massive winners?
So our first stop is going to be Japan. We're looking at a retailer that's become this global phenomenon by, well, it looks like they're doing everything wrong, especially when it comes to their brand.
Okay, picture this. You get to ask the president of a huge, multi-billion-dollar company why they don't advertise. I mean, at all. Well, someone actually did that. They put that exact question to the head of Muji, a company that's famous for having absolutely zero advertising. And the fact that they're so successful, it just makes you question everything you thought you knew about building a brand.
And his answer was so simple, but wow, it completely reframes the whole conversation. He actually corrected the person asking the question. He said, no, Muji has a brand. What Muji doesn't have is a logo. And that one little distinction, that's the key. That unlocks their entire way of thinking.
And get this, that philosophy is literally baked right into their name. Mujiroshi Ryohin translates to no logo quality goods. So see, they aren't trying to build a brand with flashy ads or promotions. They're building it by stripping away everything that's non-essential. And what's the first thing to go? The logo itself. So instead of a big marketing department, Muji just has these 3 core principles. And these principles guide every single thing they make. I mean, from a simple ballpoint pen all the way up to a house. The brand isn't some catchy slogan, it's something you actually feel. It's an experience of simplicity, harmony, and just being natural.
And you just can't argue with the results. I mean, the power of this approach is undeniable. While other companies are out there scrambling for attention, especially when the economy gets tough, Muji just keeps its head down, focuses on its philosophy, and grows steadily. It just goes to show you that a strong, quiet identity can actually be way more resilient than a loud, flashy.
Okay, so if Muji's playbook is all about being quiet and deliberate, our next rule breaker wins by doing the absolute opposite. We're talking pure, explosive speed. Let's take a look at a company that took this unconventional thinking and just strapped a rocket to it for massive growth.
Just take a look at these numbers for a second. We all know McDonald's. We all know Subway. But that name, McSue, it might be new to you. Well, guess what? In 2025, this ice cream and tea chain from China just casually blew past Subway. It became the second largest franchise on the entire planet by the number of stores. Insane, right?
And here's the really wild part. Check out this timeline. It took giants like McDonald's more than 50 years to build their global empires. McSue, they did it in less than a decade. So how in the world did they pull off that kind of mind-boggling speed?
Simple. They did it by completely flipping the Western franchise model on its head. You know the traditional playbook. Plan everything first. Spend a fortune on these expensive studies to find the one perfect location. McSue's philosophy is totally different. It's act first, and if it fails, just close it. They value speed and just doing things way more than slow, careful analysis. Now, this act-first strategy, it only works because the entire business is an incredibly lean machine. Their prices are ridiculously low. An ice cream cone that sells for 15 baht, it only costs them about 4 to make. And how's that possible? Well, the menu is super simple. They use just a few core ingredients and kind of remix them into different things. The end result is a business model that's built for one thing: speed, scale, and making it super cheap to fail and try again.
All right, so we've seen a disruptive newcomer. Now let's switch gears and look at a real legacy institution. We're talking about Thailand Post, a 142-year-old organization, and how it used its own unique strengths to get through a crisis that honestly could have been the end of them. So for years, can you imagine? Thailand Post started every single year, almost 2 billion baht in the hole. That's over 50 million US dollars in losses, before they even did anything. And all of that red ink came from the one service you'd think was its bedrock:
just delivering the mail.
They were basically stuck in this impossible situation. See, by law, they were the only ones who could deliver letters. But that same law, which was controlled by politicians, capped the price of a stamp at only 3 baht. Here's the problem. The actual cost to deliver that letter was 4.25 baht. So they were legally required to lose money on every single letter. And for more than 10 years, every time they asked to raise the price, the answer was just,
So what do? Well, they got clever. They came up with this brilliant 2-step solution. First, instead of asking to raise the price, they asked to lower the weight limit for that 3 baht stamp. Now, the politicians, who definitely didn't want to announce a price hike, they said, sure, fine. This move immediately made all that heavier business mail more expensive. But here's the real genius move, the second step. Buried deep in that same proposal was a tiny clause that would automatically raise the base price to 5 baht, 2 years later, long after all the political dust had settled. So clever.
And the result of this maneuver? Oh, it was a total game changer. In just the first 6 months after the full change kicked in, their letter delivery service went from losing almost $2 billion a year to making a 500 million baht profit, just like that. A truly brilliant solution that was born directly from being backed into a corner.
But you know, their comeback wasn't just about this clever pricing trick. Their most powerful weapon, their real secret asset, is something you'd never see on a business spreadsheet. It's trust. In Thailand, the local postman isn't just a courier. They're part of the community. People literally let them into their homes. Even the neighborhood dogs are friendly with them. This isn't just a business transaction, it's a deep cultural bond. And that's a competitive advantage that you just can't buy or copy.
Okay, so let's put it all together. We've got Muji, the minimalist retailer. We've got Mixu, the hyper-growth franchise. And we've got Thailand Post, the comeback kid legacy institution. So what does this Eastern playbook actually look like?
Well, this new playbook seems to be guided by a totally different set of rules. It teaches us that a really strong internal philosophy can be way more valuable than a huge marketing budget. It shows that pure speed in action can actually beat slow, careful planning. And maybe most importantly, it reminds us that our biggest limitations, whether they're political or cultural, can actually spark the most creative, game-changing solutions and reveal these powerful hidden assets like trust.
What all these companies do is challenge our deepest assumptions about what it even means to be successful in business. They show us that the rules aren't universal at all. In fact, they're constantly being rewritten. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. Which unbreakable business rule that we all take for granted today is going to be the next one to be completely shattered by a new way of thinking?